Almost forgotten how to use this thing. Hi folks, welcome back to the channel. Thanks for clicking on the video as always. It's been a while. Almost 3 months actually since I did that hot tent camp in Rothy Marcus. I won't bore you with all the details just now, I'll wait until later on. But yeah, injury, life stuff, Christmas, weather, all the excuses. But yeah, just now I'm out for the day. I'm just gonna set up the tarp, cook up some lunch and have a bit of a catch up with you. So yeah, I'll set up the tarp now and we'll get the fire on first. Right, I managed to find a wee hairy dead standing spruce, so I've just got the fine branches of that and a few logs. I'm going to batten some of these down, or baton if you're from North America, just to get into the dry stuff. It's been so wet here the last few weeks. I've just got the X-Fire stove. You've seen me use it before a couple of times now, so I'll get this set up and get a fire going. I might have got it. Just going to boil up some water first. I've got a bit of pasta to cook to go with some leftover bolognese, and I'll use the rest of the water to make some coffee as well. So the pasta's boiling just now. I just wanted to show you another new bit of kit that I got. Some of you might be familiar with the LOFI stove by Johnny LOFI on Instagram. I've never managed to get my hands on it, but it looks like a really good bit of kit, and I've spoken to people who have it and they're very pleased with it as well. But Johnny's basically been working on a new product, and he kindly sent me one over to try out, and it's essentially a lightweight titanium lunchbox. It's fully sealable. It's got a rubber seal. I've had that in my bag walking about. There's no leakage whatsoever. But the good thing is, because it's metal, you can basically just use it as a lightweight cook pot, straight on the stove. Another nice feature is it's got a removable handle, so if you do just want to take it to work or wherever and you don't need the handle, you can just take it off, no problem. So yeah, really nice, lightweight, well made piece of kit. I'll put the links in the description for you to go and check it out, but I'll get this on the fire now and heat it up. Right, that's the coffee and the food ready, so I'm just going to tuck in whilst I tell you what's been going on the last couple of months. It's nothing too dramatic or exciting really, but yeah, so that last trip that I did to Rothy Marcus in the snow, I actually injured my leg. I got it on camera actually. I'll put the clip up, but I was kneeling down putting in a peg or something, and when I went to stand up, I think I just put too much pressure on my knee at an awkward angle, and it actually felt like my my whole knee and everything inside my leg just dislocated or moved to a place that it shouldn't have been, and for a second I genuinely thought I was a bit screwed because it's quite a walk out of there. But I took a second and managed to stand up, and it kind of clicked and it felt okay. But after the trip, once I got home, a few days later, I could feel something didn't feel quite right in there, and I didn't want to push it. And I'm not that young anymore, and these are the sort of injuries that, if you're not careful, they can develop into bigger problems. So I just took it easy. It's fine now. I've been working out and sort of lifting heavy weights with it and no issues, but I think I just needed to rest it a little bit. But it's something I'm a bit wary of now. Yeah, I'll just have to be careful and see how it goes. That's good. Yeah, so for December, I was taking it easy on my leg. The weather wasn't great after that snow. It got really mild and warm and just really wet. And obviously Christmas and busy at work and all these kind of things. So I didn't really get out again before Christmas last year. And then since the new year, the weather has been unbelievable. Just storm after storm, weather front coming in, just wind, rain. We had Storm Gerrit, I think it's called. Is it the day after? The day after Boxing Day, I think, actually, so it's still just last year. But we had a couple hours in the morning, and it just decimated everything. Again, I'll throw up some clips, but two areas that are normally very sheltered are the Fort Augustus area and around kind of Rothy Mercus, Inchrea, Glenfeshie, they're usually pretty sheltered from the east and very sheltered from the west. So although we can get strong wind and rain, it's not really an issue. But this wind came in, it came in from the east, so straight away that makes a lot of these trees vulnerable because it's not the prevailing wind and they're not used to it. But there was a line from the Cairngorms across the Monalea into South Loch Ness down to Fort William, like a line that got absolutely flattened. It was like, it's almost like mini tornadoes over kind of Rothy Mercus, Lower Glenfeshie, Inchrea. They had about 500 hectares of forest just flattened. And over in Fort Augustus, round about me, wasn't quite as widespread in terms of losing that much area, but just as intense. You know, a lot of damage to car parks, trails, forest roads. We've been clearing it up for the last month, and we'll be clearing it up for a while yet. So, and then since then, just more wind, more rain. We had flooding issues, and in between all that, we did get 3 days of winter actually. A lot of snow for Fort Augustus at least. It's been a few years since I've seen that much. We got about a foot of snow in one afternoon, and then the temperatures like plummeted. It was like -11, -12 for like 2-3 nights in a row, and it actually felt really, you know, Scandinavian to have a decent amount of snow and cold temperatures. But it was right in the middle of the week, so it was like Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. So obviously I was working, and I wasn't able to get out and enjoy it, unfortunately. It just hasn't encouraged me to get out at all. And obviously been busy with work and the clean-up from the storms, and all of a sudden it's second week of February. January just disappeared in the blink of an eye. But yeah, overall doing okay. Derek's doing okay as well. The last video I put on the channel did quite well. I think it's at nearly 10,000 views now. Brought in quite a few subscribers as well. I think we're getting close to, is it 4,500 subscribers now? So that's really promising. I didn't think I would be getting close to 5,000 this quickly. Even though I haven't put out any new sort of videos or content really, there's been a steady trickle of subscribers, so that's good. But yeah, I think I'm going to call it there. I'm just going to eat this food and finish my coffee here. Like I say, just a short outing, just a short video, just to update you and let you know I'm still alive. I do have a forest thoughts for you though, and I'm going to be talking about national parks. There's a lot of talk about national parks at the moment because Scottish Government are basically looking at designating a third national park in Scotland. So there's a lot of consultation, a lot of chat about national parks in general, and if the existing ones are working, and where the new one will be, and what the impact was. So I just wanted to give you my thoughts on that. Again, just to get people thinking about these things. I'm sure people will have differing opinions to mine. But yeah, if you're interested, stick around, and if not, I will hopefully see you on the next video. Hi folks, thanks for sticking around for Forest Thoughts. Like I said earlier, I'm going to be talking about national parks, and I've kind of got some notes here, and this is going to be a bit rambly because I just kind of decided to talk about this subject a bit last minute, so apologies for that, but if you want to stick with me then please do. There's a lot of talk about national parks in Scotland at the moment. The government are looking to designate a third national park to add to the two existing national parks in Scotland, which is the Cairngorm National Park, which was established in 2002, and the Loch Lomond and Trossachs National Park, which was designated in 2003. A lot of consultation going on at the moment. The deadline for submissions is 29th of February, I think, because it's a leap year this year. So yeah, there's a lot of community consultation, a lot of different charities and organisations that are all pushing their ideas for who should be given the national park status. There's areas across the whole of Scotland, like Galloway, here, Loch Ness in Africa, even the Western Isles, I think, has been suggested. I think there's about 10 areas overall. So yeah, again, I'll leave some links below so you can check out what's going on. But today I just wanted to talk about my opinion of national parks in general in Scotland and the UK. So for me, and I think a lot of other people, especially in other countries and around the world, a national park is normally the strictest form of protection for some kind of natural area or natural feature. Places like North America and Scandinavia, it's usually areas that are as close to wilderness as they can be still, and they're worth protecting, and that protection is, incredibly strict. There's no development allowed in these areas, no roads a lot of the time, and the main objective of the national park is usually to protect and conserve what's there. Now, like I said, North America's quite famous for their national parks, obviously a lot of history there. I've been to several national parks in Scandinavia, and it's always the same theme, it's a strictly protected nature area. And in a lot of these national parks, again in North America, even access is limited to reduce the impact of people on these natural areas, because nature, is the top priority, even over our, recreational enjoyment. And that's the way it should be. National parks in Scotland and the UK. Well, we did the typical British thing, and of course our national parks have to be different from anywhere else. I think they're described as working cultural heritage landscapes or something like that, with an equal focus on nature conservation, cultural heritage and sustainable rural development. Within the national park, and I'm mostly referring to the Cairngorms National Park here, because that's the park I know best. That's the area that I've basically spent my whole life living next to and in and around, and I've seen the impact firsthand. I'm sure there's plenty of similarities with Loch Lomond too and other national parks in the UK. Within the Cairngorms National Park boundary, you've got major roads like the A9, infrastructure, power lines, quarries. You've got towns and villages, the full range of land uses, grouse moors, deer sporting estates, agriculture. You've got recreation centres, you've got commercial forestry, and of course you've got the nature areas too, like the ancient Caledonian pinewood at Rothiemurchus, Glenmore, Abernethy. You've got important wetlands at Inchmarshes. All these areas are mixed in as well. You might be thinking, what's the problem with that? Well, like I said before, national parks in other countries, they're designated for those nature areas, and the main objective is to protect those areas. So it's relatively, on paper at least, straightforward. There's, a clear goal and a clear objective there. Whereas what we've done here is, because there's so much going on in one area under this umbrella of the national park, we've just created this kind of mass of complex kind of constraints and conflicts, between land uses and different stakeholder groups, and it's almost impossible to manage with, you know, a clear objective that kind of suits everyone involved. You know, it really is just impossible. A little bit about what I think is the positives and negatives of the national park, and I'll start with the positives because I don't think there's really that many of them. One of the big positives of the national park status is obviously sort of publicity and promotion. And the good side of that is something like, you know, the Cairngorm Connect project. That's gained a lot of publicity because it's in the national park, and obviously that helps to raise awareness about, you know, wildlife that's endangered, and, you know, our natural habitats, you know, mainly the Caledonian pinewood forest. You know, that's a positive thing for sure, and it's part of the reason why organisations like Trees for Life, who are promoting their Afric Highland project at the moment, they're pushing hard for a Loch Ness and Glen Afric national park at the moment, you know, centred around their very fancy, expensive visitor centre. And obviously, you know, being a part of that, and the fact that they're very good at publicity and promotion themselves, that's obviously going to generate you know, a lot of money and interest in them. In terms of the positives, that's pretty much it for me, to be honest. Kind of growing up and living and working in and around the national park, you know, the Cairngorm National Park, and seeing the changes there and the impacts it had or has had, has made me incredibly skeptical about our national parks when it comes to sustainability and, you know, genuine nature conservation. Now, I know I said promotion and publicity is a good thing, but at the same time, I think it's one of the biggest negatives about the national park, and it's one of the main drivers of, you know, unsustainable tourism, not just in the park but in the Highlands in general, but obviously it's intensified within the national park area. You know, places like Aviemore now in the national park are just a circus for 9-10 months of the year. It's so incredibly busy. You know, they're just full to bursting with people. You know, areas like Glenmore and around Loch Morlich just getting absolutely hammered with, you know, tourism and just such high visitor numbers. You know, the area really doesn't stand a chance. And, you know, places like Loch Ness, Isle of Skye, you know, all around the NC 500, you know, they're already incredibly busy too, you know, especially Loch Ness and Skye. I mean, it's just so insanely busy. Like, the roads are ridiculous, the rubbish and the litter everywhere. It's just really, really sad and disappointing to see. And obviously, you know, designating these areas, or one of these other areas, as national park, it's only going to ramp up that unsustainable tourism, and we just don't have the space or the infrastructure to cope with it at the moment, and we probably never will. You know, places like Glen Afric just doesn't have the sort of capacity to extend infrastructure, you know, in terms of roads and car parks. You know, it's kind of already at its maximum. Now, I know of several people who've actually, you know, moved out of that kind of honeypot area of the Cairngorm National Park, you know, sort of Aviemore sort of area, because it's just too busy. It's just too much now, and I can understand why. But the flip side of that is I also know other people who have needed to move to the area, you know, for genuine work reasons, or it's, you know, it's their family home and they want to move, sort of family area, sorry, and they want to move back there, you know, and they just can't, because the housing market I mean, it's been an issue in the Highlands for years anyway, but again, it's just intensified in the national park. The prices of houses are just unbelievable. You know, they're way beyond most sort of local average wages, and the rental market as well is almost non-existent, because you know, any properties that are available are kind of bought up as holiday homes, second homes, you know, Airbnbs, and again, just genuine local people who need to live and work there just don't stand a chance in terms of finding somewhere to live. Instead of making these communities sustainable, like the park said it's supposed to do, it's actually having the opposite. And these communities are slowly deteriorating, and they're basically turning into, you know, holiday villages. I mean, in terms of the sort of nature conservation side, I mean, if you're a large charity or a government organisation, or even, you know, a large sort of more traditional estate, it doesn't really impact you so much. You know, you've got the kind of scope and capacity to deal with kind of changes to land uses. But if you're in the kind of small to medium private landowner group, then, you know, the national park status can have a real impact. Now imagine, you know, you wake up in the morning and all of a sudden your land is included in some imaginary national park boundary. Well, if you're not interested or in a position to start, you know, rewilding, if you want to call it that, then all of a sudden you're under this intense pressure to do so just because you're inside the national park. And you can never force people to make changes like that. And the more you do, the more division it's actually going to cause. And a lot of these people start to, you know, build kind of negative impressions and anger against rewilding. And I think we just end up with less progress overall from those people. And on the flip side of that, if you've got people who are for rewilding or are in a position to, you know, make some sort of positive changes, then all of a sudden now they've got all these extra hoops and regulation to jump through, you know, just to try and do the right thing because they're in the national park. So again, either way, I feel like it just slows down progress, and you know, it's not very beneficial to either side, you know, whatever side of the argument that you're on. And the actual special kind of nature areas within these parks, you know, they've already got the highest level of, you know, kind of legal protection in terms of environmental law. You know, adding the national park status doesn't really enhance that. You know, these areas are already recognised, they're already being protected. And again, the flip side of that, because of our weird definition of, you know, national parks and the cultural heritage side of it, the sort of more traditional land uses, like the grouse moors and the sporting estates that have, you know, kind of led to a lot of the damage on the landscape already, they're able to continue. In some ways they're protected because it's behind the smokescreen of, you know, cultural heritage. So you know, it's holding the landscape back, you know, the overall picture from making genuine progress. Because if you're a grouse moor owner, well, you can say, you know, I'm in the national park, this is cultural heritage, you know, leave me alone. And that kind of has happened. You know, there's still these land uses going on in a national park, which I just find incredible. You know, they shouldn't be going on at all anywhere, you know, never mind in a national park. Yeah, like I said, I know it's ended up being a bit kind of ranty and rambly, but, you know, do I want to see a third national park? If they were genuine national parks, Absolutely. I'd love to see more than one new one. I'd love to see several. But the way that our national parks are set up and defined, then no, I don't want to see a third national park, especially somewhere like Loch Ness in Africa. I can only see it bringing, negatives to the area. Yeah, I'll leave a couple of links below to consultations for different areas at the moment. You can have a read about it, and as always, I talk about these things just to promote discussion and thought, even if it's just in your own head. But I appreciate you sticking around and listening, and hopefully I will see you on the next one.